Who am I right now, I think, is living Riky's legacy. Mental health is such an important thing, and as brown people, we don't talk about it enough. Our challenges are, especially right now in the economy that we are in, is finance.
My name is Nosisi Ngakane. I work with the AMPT team, and we're so grateful to have Bianca Naidoo here with us today. Bianca, really, let's start here around who you are, the path that you've led through life, and how you've gotten to this place with Cotton Fest and what it's about.
Who am I right now, I think, is living Riky's legacy and making sure that everything that he did, everything that he instilled, that myself, friends, family, and, the public, fans, keeps that legacy going. So right now, a lot of my work is legacy work and then Cotton Fest.
Have you always been an entrepreneur? Can I call you an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think I prefer that when people say businesswoman, it sounds so intense. So entrepreneur definitely sounds better. I didn't have this vision of being an entrepreneur. I had a 9-to-5 job. Riky asked me to join in his team. And I think that's how I became an entrepreneur, through him. He was smart, had the most amazing visions, and was so good at carrying those visions out.
What are some of the things that you feel transitioning from a 9-to-5 to being an entrepreneur? What are some of the lessons that you've learned along the journey?
Being disciplined is one of the biggest things, because now you're working for yourself. And for me, I think I had the responsibility of somebody's career in my hands. But I was so well guided by Riky, because when I came into it, I didn't know anything about the industry and how music works. But because he knew and he put himself through certain, classes to educate himself, I learned a lot through him. But our challenges are, especially right now in the economy that we are in, is finance. And I think it's so important that initiatives like MTM Pulse are giving back, because it just creates environments for these kids to innovate and thrive. And then also financial education, I think, is a huge challenge for a lot of young entrepreneurs. And I think that's an important thing for us to start putting in place. I don't think there's enough of it. It's so important to educate yourself, stay in school, and just always be open to learning. I think also just building a sense of community, where you're learning from each other, struggling together, because it's a long journey, and there's always challenges.
So we're going to go a little bit into the topic at hand, which is around mindfulness and productivity. Would you be able to share for you what mindfulness within entrepreneurship means, and why do you think it's an important topic to speak about?
Because we don't speak about it enough. But I think my own self-awareness, knowing when something's for me and something's not for me, knowing when to tap out, then very clear boundaries, very clear, respectful, love-led boundaries. Those are the ones that come to mind.
In terms of self-awareness, I know with entrepreneurs, sometimes you get into businesses because everybody's doing it, or you get into a particular field of business because it's something that you're truly passionate about. So there's kind of twofold. In my understanding of your life, and specifically around Cotton Fest and the journey that you're on now, it was a very much passion-led journey, and not trying to take advantage of an opportunity in the market. How do you then balance passion with actual work? Do you find that, you actually have to be really conscious to say, I need to stop and, let me shut down, and do and live me?
Yeah, I think mental health is such an important thing, and as brown people, we don't talk about it enough. It's so real, and I think it's so important to pay attention, and for people to not say, you just misbehaving, or you being lazy, or whatever it is. It is a real thing. So I definitely think that if you can, from the start of your journey, be mindful about your mental health, very important. There's always going to be that struggle, there's always going to be fear. But if it's not working for you, like, be able to take a step back, because if it is for you, it will be for you, it will come to you.
I know that a lot of battles that entrepreneurs face is like, you're not earning revenue. It may take like 10 years for you to see some sort of fruition to the work that you've been putting in. And do you have kind of any advice for someone who, maybe has been in the game for a while and is not necessarily seeing like any fruits for their labor, but also in the back of the mind know that this is something that they need to consistently just stay at and be consistent with, because there could be another side?
Yeah, I think if you believe in it, like, you'll go through the struggle. You'll craft and craft and craft until you get to a point where you're never completely satisfied. I think you're always wanting more. I just think, like, believing in what you're doing, putting the work, crafting is what's important.
And how do you operate, like Bianca Naidoo, in the morning, waking up, let's operate? What does the ideal day start like for Bianca?
I try to get up at like 5 because it gives me that first hour before school lunches, getting the kids ready for school. That hour helps me, like, have enough time to myself, because I'm not going to wake up at 5 if I don't need to. But if I'm getting up at 5, it's because I want to get through emails and, prepare for a meeting, or if there's a presentation, then prepare for that. But that hour is just, it makes life so much easier for me. On days that I don't do that, I'm consistent in, even burning incense in the house, lighting a candle, saying a prayer. It seems like my day goes smoother.
I'm going to get a little bit into the idea of entrepreneurial support by brands. We're sitting here today. MTN Youth Hustle Hub has got this incredible campaign that they're running. Do you think it's important for brands to support young people and young entrepreneurs?
I think it's very important. For example, with Cotton Fest, if you look at our age group is 18 to 35, brands learn from these entrepreneurs, things that you wouldn't necessarily know is happening on the ground. These kids do know. So I think those collaborations are very important.
Do you think that there's more that brands could be doing? So now, there's a competition, 30 finalists, 25,000 rands to each finalist. Do you think that's enough? Do you think that there's more that, brands can do to contribute to the entrepreneurial landscape of young people?
The financial support and the education, and maybe looking at things differently, instead of just giving an offer, looking at what that person really needs to have a solid start, and focusing on those things.
We're living in a digital age right now, and we all have access to our phones. We all reference our phones for a lot of information. What type of a role can it play from a mindfulness perspective and also from an entrepreneurial development perspective? So things like learning, do you think that the way that we engage digitally can assist with those types of things, especially for young people who maybe may not have access to like formal education, etc., where we have these resources and tools available to us? How do you think we can use these resources a little bit better?
I definitely think that it should happen. I think it's about like understanding and knowing how to use. So maybe the education is around that. Like, sometimes there's so much of it, you actually don't know where to start or what's the right one. So I think maybe simplifying that and educating on how you could use those things, because it is accessible to everyone, or most of us.
So typically, people think about mindfulness and wellness and don't associate that with cutthroat entrepreneur, going into a boardroom, negotiating what you want, being steadfast. And I wanted to find out from you, do you think that those two concepts live independently? Is there like a relation, and how would one maybe take principles of mindfulness and self-care and self-awareness into the boardroom?
I think with me, I am who I am. I stay true to that. And it's because I believe what is for me will be for me. Yeah, so I think tips on that would be authentic, believe in what you're doing. Yeah, and be relatable.
Word on the street is just that, words. No one's really walking the talk.
It's promises, future plans, possibilities.
So much to and for what exactly?
Safa.
And like, we've heard it all before. It's like a song on repeat.
Let's get to it already.
Let's drop the mic, roll up our sleeves, and get it.
So if you're down for less what ifs, maybes, more action,
And if you understand the assignments,
Join MTN Pulse, a platform that empowers the youth with exclusive, affordable data offers.
That gives us access to educational platforms, career and lifestyle rewards, and so many more.
We've got the receipts.
MTN Pulse is giving blessa. Giving, don't worry about it.
There are perks for days, rewards always, monthly and yearly. Just because you're part of the fam.
I mean, if you got someone who backs you like that, I mean, come on, let's operate.
dial *411# to join MTN Pulse. For teens and under 25s, T's and C's apply.
I wanted to ask with regards to stress mitigating, like methods or habits that entrepreneurs we should adopt at our early stage to make sure that when we go in deep into entrepreneurship, we don't end up like depressed or overly stressed.
Paying attention to your mental health and whatever that means, whether it's starting your day earlier so that you can focus on yourself and what you need, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's going to dance, whether, you preparing a special meal for yourself in the morning, whatever it is, but be intentional about your time that you need to get through a day. And I know not everyone can afford therapy, but there are facilities or there are, programs that can help support you through whatever mental health issues you're dealing with, can help support you through that.
At what point or level, or what are the signs in terms of now when you're losing yourself, pressure, you have to make people happy, family, and all that. At what point when you realize that I'm losing myself or my identity or this is what I was not budging on? What are the signs like?
I think it's different for everyone. If I have to speak for myself, and I can honestly say that I've only started paying attention to my mental health since Riky's passing. And some of the things that I've noticed is when I'm unproductive, that's when I know that I'm going through something. When I run away from dealing with certain things, when I feel like I'm not getting somewhere in terms of, a project or a purpose, those are the signs for me. And how I deal with them is being able to, I go through therapy, that helps me, taking time to myself. So if it means tapping out for a day or two, I tap out. And I think just working on a lot of self-awareness and self-love.
When you're doing business, when business, it's difficult to reward yourself, Unlike working for someone when you're doing good, there's this and that. So how important is it to now and then in those moments where you are doing good or you achieved something to reward yourself?
It's very important. With Cotton Fest, when it's time to work, it's time to work. You get overwhelmed, you get anxious. You forget about the joy that you should be experiencing when you're doing this as well, because it is a legacy project for us. It's a love project for us. The only time we get to say, well done, or acknowledge that we've done a very good job is after the show. But it is really, really important.
I just wanted to find out, what does legacy mean to you? And I think success, because it differs for everyone. Some would be money, some would be attendance. Like for you right now, the position that you're in, how do you measure success?
So in terms of legacy, I think it's, what you leave behind and how people remember you. And when I talk about the legacy work that we do now is carrying out everything that Riky put in place, everything that he believed in, and staying true to that. Success to me, it's not about money, it's just about being at a place where it feels good, and it feels like you're doing the right thing. I feel like I'm doing the right thing now because I'm there for people, I support in the industry, I'm relatable. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
How do you match like being mindful? Like you have kids, you're an entrepreneur. So how do you balance that?
I don't. You got to do what you got to do. Yes, I've got kids, I'm a mom, so I know I have responsibilities. And at the same time, I've got to live. That's my reality. So if I figured out my work-life balance, probably not. And I think with my new normal, also being a single parent, I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to not feel like I'm constantly going, When I'm not coping and I need some time out, I'm very good at giving myself that.
I'm an upcoming artist. How do they get to be on the stage Go Cotton Fest?
The best answer, because we'd love to help everybody, we'd love to have everyone on stage. We have the open mic program where when that opens, you can submit. We then shortlist that, and we then host an evening where our top 10 perform, and then we break it down from there. Yeah, so I would say that should be your first start.
Thank you for multiplying the legacy.
Thank you.
I wanted to know, like, how do you deal with rejection? Since I'm going through rejection now.
I would say, if you believe in what you're doing, there is always going to be that rejection. If you believe in what you're doing, this door might close, but another one will open. And I'm saying that because I say, if something's for you, it will be for you.
So as young businessmen and women here, I just want to ask, because you have a running business that's big, what's your advice to us as youth in tackling our finances and also going in a business venture?
Yeah, I think going in a business venture, be careful of who you're going in a business venture with. Right now, I know like our financial climate is really low, and I think we're all struggling, all trying to get by. And I would say like start small. Start small, know what your financial capacity is, and then just educate yourself on things that you should start with, like registering your business, making sure you do your taxes, understanding your taxes, and then understanding your product. I would say that would be the things that you should focus on as first steps.
Are you going to open the space for certain things that were not yet included? Or like, what's your vision now since you're the one who's like steering the ship?
I think the foundation is probably something that came after Riky passed. And in terms of what are we going to do differently, with Cotton Fest, for example, we're introducing something called the Creative Program, which would be there to just like support the kids in whatever initiatives, focusing on our pillars, which is art, music, fashion, and then just being able to give back. We're not going to be able to change everyone's life, but the little that we can do, we're going to try to do that. There will be new music that's coming out that we're working on currently, but we're basically following in the steps that he had left. And maybe there will be new things, but right now, there isn't.
Let's say I'm an emerging platform that I'm running now. Like when I want to approach brands so that they can support the vision that I wanna, furthermore, because now everything is coming out of my pocket and I have to like do everything. So now having to approach brands and be like, okay, guys, support me. What are the things that you can say I should be looking at?
Yeah, I guess it'll depend on like what brands are you approaching? Does it tie in with your brand? Is anyone else doing it? I think it's about how you sell it differently and what makes sense for the brand to collaborate with you.
Yeah, but it's been difficult. For example, let's say with Cotton Fest right now, let's say a new one is coming up. Do brands approach you guys, or you guys approach brands?
No, we approach brands
Yeah,
because
so
we need the sponsorship.
I want those things, like those. What is it that you do?
Well, so the first year of Cotton Fest, it was out of Riky's pocket. You know, he worked in order to pump that money into making that first year happen. And thereafter, we had content, we had success to show brands that it worked. And then we were able to go in. I mean, I wish brands saw us differently, because I feel like there's no other festival right now that's kind of doing what Cotton Fest is doing. It's still a struggle. And if you look at our brands, most of the brands are brands that have started from, I think, 2021, that has carried on with us. And we might pick up 1 or 2 new brands along the way. But it's about making them believe.
Okay, the last thing, because you've approached brands, what are the things that you picked up that brands liked about Cotton Fest that you're like, okay, if I improve on this ones, I stand more chance for them to kind of support the vision?
I think with Cotton Fest, it's like they understand the vision, they believe in the vision, and then we have that target market that they probably need. So it's a collaboration.
What criteria do you use to determine the people that are around you and your support system, and how did you take the time to structure that for yourself and for your business?
I'm a very private person. My circle's very small. And I think that helps me a lot because those people understand me. I have my family that, you know, is definitely there and understands. I've got Mama, Riky's mom, Riky's brothers, that are basically, you know, one of being here in Joburg, because my family's not in Joburg, is probably my biggest support structure right now, and my friends. My advice, keep your circle small and know who's, you know, on the same path as you and understands you, understands your purpose and your vision, and supports that.
One of the things that I do is I'm a singer and a songwriter. And I found that it's quite hard to let go of people who are a part of that support system once you start to evolve, or once you start to have a different vision, or whatever the case may be. So what would you say is a loving way or a professional way of learning to also let go of people in that same support system? Obviously with family, it doesn't necessarily apply. But in business, what is the way to do that in a way that doesn't burn bridges? Yeah.
Depending what your relationship is with that person, but I think just an honest conversation about how you feel and why you probably moving along, like that honest conversation, instead of them hearing it or figuring it out from someone else, because they probably will. I think just honesty. And that honesty could be with love and respect as well. So, yeah.
How do you break bad habits and get used to building the good habits, you know? Once you've built a habit, it's very hard to break it, especially when you're trying to develop something new, when you're trying to take better care of yourself. Do you have any strategies on that?
I think when you know something and being accountable to things that are not good for you, or just being accountable and knowing that you want better for yourself, yeah, I think that's definitely a way that you can help break a bad habit because it's not for you.
And on building new ones?
Enjoying what you do. I think in whatever new habits you're building, making sure that those habits are intertwined in what you enjoy. And I think that will make it easier.
Okay, no, thank you very much.
Switch to MTN and dial *411# to join MTN Pulse for discounted data offers and dope experiences for under 25s. T's and C's apply.